are we live now? I think we're live now. Cool. Yeah, it looks like it's doing it. So, I was just saying, I I was thinking about like making a Reddit or a blog or something. I ran this race and I just wanted to kind of get all my thoughts in one place. I wrote some notes down, but um, just kind of an attempt to keep everything structured because I know I'm just gonna end up going off on tangents here. But so I wanted to just kind of record some things I learned and like some things that I did take into consideration before my next race. Um, Notes about being prepared for these things and things that I picked up along the way. Um, I'm talking about the you guys probably read the info at the bottom, but I'm talking about the Deadman Peaks 100 trail run. It was last weekend in Cuba, New Mexico, which is I'm currently in Denver now. Cuba is about 6.5, 7 hour drive from here. So this is my second year going down there to run the race. Both times I jumped into the 100 miler. So I went last year. I ran this race, and I got 80 miles in, and it was the farthest I had ever run in my life. Um, and I was running through about half the night into a pretty brutal headwind. And I mean, I don't want to make excuses and sob stories and everything, but it was a headwind and it was pretty rough. It was snowing and sleeting in my face. I got lost a few times trying to find the way that these races are set up. You need to just look for either tiny little flags or little stacks of rocks. They're called cairns. You need to look for those to help you like find out where you're going. And so basically, I'm running through the high desert in the middle of the night with a headlamp, trying to find stacks of rocks in a snowstorm, and it didn't go well last year. But I pretty much accomplished what I set out to accomplish last year, which was running the farthest I'd ever gone, which was 80 miles. So that was cool. Didn't finish the race, which sucked. You never want to put a DNF up. But all things considered, I was pretty much in the mindset that if the conditions were a little bit better, I would be able to finish the 100. And I told myself that, so that made it probably easier to tap out early, which sucks. But you feel like crap about it. But at the same time, it kind of motivates you to go back next year and do it. And that's what I did. So a little bit about me, I guess, since I don't really YouTube at all. I don't know. Some of you guys probably know me already who are watching this, but I'm from Chicago. Grew up in Chicago. Spent like the first 30-ish years of my life there. I moved to Denver for a number of reasons, and then started running trails instead of doing road marathons and things like that. I've run a good amount of road marathons. Best time is a 2:38, roughly 2:38 flat. It was like 2:38:09, but yeah. Then I moved out to Denver about 3.5 years ago. Started running trails. I had already done a couple of these trail ultras. I had a buddy back in Chicago who kind of got me into that. And so my first ever ultra was I was a pacer for the Hennepin 100. Hennepin 100 in I think it's around Central Illinois. It's on the I&M Canal. But I ran 50 miles there on really not a whole lot of training. I mean, I've always loosely been running and training. Been running for like 17 years. But yeah, long story short, I did the last 50 of the Hennepin, and then I was like, well, what's next for me? So then I was like, well, I got to sign up for one of these things and see what happens. So I signed up for the Kettle Moraine 100K, which is about 62, 63 miles. And I went 14 hours, 22 minutes in the Kettle Moraine. That one was up in Wisconsin. And that one was like literally the weekend before I moved to Denver. So it was like all kind of happening right around the same time. So yeah, we finished the Kettle Moraine 100K. I ran with my buddy from Chicago. Shout out to John. Um, finished that one right around when it was getting dark out. I think we finished right around like 6:30 p.m. or some shit. 14 hours. It might have been a little bit later. It might have been closer to like 7:30. Because at 14 hours, you figure you had to start around 6. So yeah, I don't know. Anyways, 14 hours and some change on that one. The next one I ran was I ran 100K out here in Castle Rock, but I ran it under a different name. I got somebody else's bib number for that one, so there's no record of it, which is fine. That was my first ultra at elevation. I also paced the Leadville 100. I paced it for about 13 to 15 miles, and that was in 2018, I think. Sounds right. Maybe 2019. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, I paced that for a little bit. Just kind of got to see what it looks like going up and over Mount Hope. I was unprepared for that. Definitely, it was freezing going up and over the mountain, but you learn. Anyways, then so long story short, the whole history of this Deadman thing. So I signed up for the Deadman Peaks 100 because I was trying to get into Leadville on my own, and I figured, okay, well, I don't want Leadville to be my first 100, so let's run this Deadman Peaks. It's probably a little bit easier. I know Leadville's got a lot of plus and minus elevation type stuff. So yeah, I signed up for Deadman. The first year I signed up for it, I didn't even go. Something came up, probably something financially. I don't know. But anyways, the second year I signed up, which was last year, I went down there and, like I said, got 80 miles in and decided that was going to be it. So I hadn't run 100 yet. What else? I did let's see, earlier this year, super early in the year, I did one of those timed races. This was actually 2020. Yeah, this was in early spring 2020. I signed up for a 12-hour run. I didn't run for 12 hours. I think I ran for like 8 or something. But yeah, that was just at the state park, pretty close by. I just kind of wanted to go out there and get the rust off. So did that. Didn't go all that well, but that's fine. And it wasn't a premier race or anything. Then I did the Colfax in 2019. So that would have been before that. I went 3:07 in the Colfax, which was all right. I mean, I didn't really train for it. Anyways, I'm 8 minutes into this, and I still haven't even talked about anything to do with this race this year. But let's see. Yeah. Anyways, long story short, I've done a couple of these ultras. My best one so far, I think, was probably Leadville. This past August, I went 24:43 at Leadville. Got the big belt buckle at Leadville. Really learned a lot there. My ankles blew up. My ankles were huge ankles. Probably should have went a little bit easier on the downhill, but worth it. Yeah, my ankles were unbelievably swollen. It was awesome. I did the Sangre de Cristo ultras. That was last year. I did the 100K, and it's on ultra sign up. It says that was my best race. That one put me in 80th percent. But I mean, take that for what it's worth. It's just a weaker field. Leadville, they were just ballers at Leadville. So to finish in the, I think I got like 65th percentile or something at Leadville. But I'll take it. I mean, the goal was to get the big belt buckle, and we got the big belt buckle. So we'll take that any day. Which brings us now. So I recovered pretty much from Leadville. Had some ongoing ankle issues after that race that kind of put me in a bad place for training. But anyways, I mean, the goal was just to finish Deadman's this year. I DNF'd it last year. The goal was to go out and just get one more 100-miler under the belt before 2022. And spoiler alert, finished it. Me and Pete, we finished the race. It was not easy. It was very slow. It was a grind. Terrain was rough. But yeah, finished that one. So I'm going to kind of take it from start to finish. We're going to talk about things I learned along the way at Deadman. So Pete, by the way, I talk about Pete. Pete, he paced me for the last 37-ish miles of Leadville. And, I mean, it really was a game changer. Like, there's no way I would have went as fast as I did without somebody dragging my ass through the thing. Anyway, so yeah, big shout out to Pete. Pete paced me at Leadville, and then he came back and he signed up for the 100 at Deadman's. So I dragged him out to Cuba, dragged him out to the desert, and told him, you got to run this thing, Pete. We'll get in one more 100 before the year's over. And he did. Pete's legit. He showed up. Ran the 100. So race morning, right? We'll start from the top. Got the hotel. It was pretty close to the starting line, which was. Did I freeze? I'm seeing some lag here. So yeah, the hotel was pretty close to the starting line. We stayed at the Frontier Motel. Awesome, amazing 6-star establishment in Cuba. No, it was all right. It was pretty legit. I mean, as far as proximity to the starting line, you couldn't really get much better than the old Frontier. But it was all right. I mean, it was pretty much everything that we needed. I don't know. You get what you pay for. Would have liked a tub, probably, just to maybe do like an ice bath or just have a soak after the race. But it was just a shower. But really, I mean, I couldn't complain about it at all. It was all right. So race morning, we're getting loaded up, getting everything in the car. I'm starting to feel a little frantic race morning because I just didn't have everything as laid out and organized as I typically do, or as I would have liked to. But I mean, I didn't want to call it like a throwaway race, but it was just a race where I didn't feel the need to like have a totally like down to the second, down to each individual item. I didn't feel the need to have such a solid plan. I just kind of like got my 2 drop bags together and loaded up. So in the morning, I was like kind of frantically like, I need to make sure that this is in this bag and this is in this bag, and I want to have my jacket for the car, and then I want to have my jacket in this bag, and then should I bring pants? And it was a lot. It was a lot in the morning to process. I woke up plenty early, but we didn't leave for the race until like probably about 25 minutes until the start. So it was a little bit hectic before the race. You know how it gets before a race. You don't want to have to like worry about all that garbage. But that was me, frantically throwing everything together at the last second. Pete was prepared. Pete was all ready. He was just waiting on me. If anything, I probably stressed him out. Sorry, Pete. But yeah, so we go over to the race. It's pretty cold out, but not that bad. I mean, the choice on what to wear was pretty obvious. Knew it was going to get hot during the day. I think during the day, it felt like it got up to like 75, 77-ish, but I guess it only got up to like the low 70s. But when you're in direct sunlight, it takes a little bit more out of you than you would expect. I think being in the high desert, you get the sun reflecting off of the light, like rock faces. So that was hot. It was a hot day. But it started out, it's pretty cold. The race started. Everything was going pretty smoothly. I was still like trying to get my jacket on and trying to get my gloves on, and it was just like fumbling at the start, which was like annoying for the first couple miles. And I just needed to like stop, get everything together, get my jacket on, get the headlamp situated, get everything the way I needed it to be, and then start running. And I probably needed like 2 more minutes just to get everything square, but it wasn't happening for me. So, yeah, anyways, I ended up stopping a couple times just to like adjust everything. But it was fine. I mean, we started the race in maybe like 6th or 7th place, I think. Which you don't want to start in first because it's dumb. I don't want to say it's dumb, but unless you really know that you're going to be capable of like keeping a lot in the tank, you don't want to start in first. But yeah, going into the race, I knew there was going to be a guy from France who would probably win. That was the mindset. So a guy from France would probably win. And then I thought me and Pete, I thought we had a legit shot at getting second and third. I knew that there was a married couple, a guy and a lady, and they were pretty good. I was pretty sure that they would finish, but I thought like to beat them would be pretty good because they had run a lot of races before. They had a lot of results on the site. But again, I mean, this is early. This is 7 a.m. But you're just you're looking at how the day could play out, you know? So we're running along, and I think we're in, me and Pete talking about, I think we're in like maybe 4th and 5th at this point. We're running along, and we start talking to this guy, Charlie. Charlie's he's a little bit older. I think he's like 55, 57 or something around there. Super cool guy, super friendly guy. And he was talking to us about some races that he'd been doing over the past few months, and just the way that he plans his ultra schedule through the season. Cool guy. He's wild. Yeah, we were running with him, and then it kind of like started getting light out, started being able to see the people in front of us, and we were running with him for a while, and then we kind of just like started picking it up because we could see now. You know, the sun was up; it was a little bit easier. Had the jacket off. It's probably like 9 a.m. around then. So then we passed that couple. We passed the presumably the guy and the lady, the married couple that were running, and that was right around. I mean, it was before 10 miles in. It was right after a really weird, like awkward climb down like I don't want to call it a cliffside because it wasn't that steep, but it was pretty steep. And then we make it to the first aid station. I guess we would have been in 3rd and 4th at that point. And yeah, couldn't see first, couldn't see second. We had a lot of people like in our little group kind of right behind us. But yeah, by the time we got to the not the next, but the aid station after. So there's the start finish, then there's 2 aid stations, and then there's the turnaround. So by the time we got to that 3/4 of the way out, I think we could see the guy who was in second. For lack of a better term, we could just refer to him as Pants Guy because he was wearing pants the whole time. I don't know his name. I probably should, but oh well. I don't think he ended up finishing. But yeah, so we passed Pants Guy. He really seemed like he was struggling because he was like walking on and off a lot. And you'll see that. I don't know if it was his first ultra or what, but you'll see people that just go out ridiculously like beyond their capabilities, and then they're walking before like mile 20. That's setting up for a rough day. So that's what Pants Guy was doing. But we passed him, and then we were keeping it pretty conservative because we knew it was going to get hot. Pete was doing all right, but I had to give him some water. I don't think that he was carrying enough water for himself, especially early on. And maybe he didn't realize how hot it was going to be. Also, like Pete's been training, like out by where he lives. It's been snowing, so I think the heat maybe affected him a little bit more than it would have affected somebody who hasn't been training for the past few weeks, like in the snow and the cold. So that was probably pretty tough. But anyways, so yes, we get to the 3rd aid station and realize that we're in 2nd and 3rd. And first place, we find out first place name is Derek. So we know it's not the French dude. And Pete, like, it was a weird thing. So Pete said that he knew Derek, and like I think he said that because he like knew of him and he looked him up on the ultra sign up site, and like he was familiar with his times. Um, but in my head, like I translated that to, oh, like I know who Derek is. Derek is a stud ultra guy, and he's got a big following. Like I feel like he meant that in that kind of sense instead. So I was like, oh, this Derek, he's probably going to run hours and hours faster than us. So at that point, I was like, whatever, let's just keep doing what we've been doing. It's hot. We don't need to go crazy trying to catch this dude. But yeah, anyway, so then we went right along. I think we had a couple of pit stops in between those, just bathroom breaks. But yeah, then we got to that the first turnaround. So this would have been mile 27. We get there and we see Derek, and he's just looking bad. Sorry, Derek, if you're watching this, but he's just not looking too ready. Like I was trying to like, I don't know, like I was trying to get his attention and be like, hey, like nice job with whatever your plan, whatever you're doing, man. Like you're dusting all of us. Like keep that up. But he wouldn't even look at me. He wouldn't talk to anybody, and it just like he just looked a little bit overexerted for a quarter of the way into the race, you know. But it's still early. I mean, you can always turn it around. You know, you don't want to make these wild assumptions about anything. You know, you don't want to speculate too much. You just kind of want to stick with your plan and do what you've been doing because, I mean, the race is not even half over. So, anyways, so we didn't spend a whole lot of time at that aid station, but it was probably the longest stop on the outbound. But yeah, we see Derek and his little crew. They're helping him out. I don't know, getting him refilled on water and everything. And we're pretty much ready to go, right? But we didn't want to leave before Derek. We wanted to kind of keep him ahead of us, you know, just kind of keep an eye on like how he's doing, and you know, just kind of like have your eye on first place. You don't want to be in first place that early. But anyways, we left that aid station, and Derek must have been struggling because we passed him only a few minutes after that aid station, and then we went from like childish and like goofy running to like a little more serious because like then it was like, well, hey, we're in first and second now. We got to be smart about what we're doing, right? We don't want to overexert. We want to keep a lot in the tank in case somebody passes us or in case somebody comes up, you know. We were pretty sure that Derek was going to be in the kind of in the rear view for at least for a long time. I mean, maybe if he got a second win late, we'd see him again. But we knew that as long as we stayed pretty conservative, we would probably keep Derek behind us. The real competition in our minds were French guy, and then that couple, husband and wife, I think. Yeah, we figured that they would probably come back to us at some point. So we're running in first and second place, and it was pretty smooth sailing from then on. I was feeling really good. I think I managed the heat well. Hydration was good. Eating was not too much of an issue. If anything, I probably should have eaten a little bit more than I did. But yeah, I mean, I was feeling good all day. Hours went by. We went through those two aid stations again, those two middle ones. It was a little bit alarming. We got to one of them, and they said that they're almost out of water. Like, dude, you're out of water, and like we're the first two coming through. Like, you got to have more water for people. But anyways, I think they ended up getting more on a truck or something. But yeah. So then, long story short, we got to halfway. So this is mile 53. We got there right before the sun was going to go down. So it was probably, I want to say like right around 6:30 p.m. So about 12 hours, 30 minutes. Sounds right. Which was all right. I mean, the terrain was rough though. I mean, it was really like between the loose rock and the slick rock that was like slanted. There was just really not a lot of there wasn't a lot of time where you could just run and turn your brain off. You had to think about like your footing and your steps, and like every step was like just not normal. And it was like, I mean, I could complain about all sorts of things, but I think that was like the number one thing was like the bottoms of my feet were just hurting. I mean, not cut up, not torn up or anything, but just like from moving different ways and planning for like, some of them are sloped down from the right to left, some of them are sloped left to right, some are sloped down this way. You got inclines, declines, loose rocks, all sorts of things, little holes here and there, little spots where the water, has dug out the trail. It was tough. It required a lot more focus than I wanted it to. And my shoes didn't have a rock plate in them either. A rock plate's like a little plastic piece that goes through and kind of protects the bottom of your foot a little bit. Didn't have one of those, which is fine. I mean, it's whatever. Feet are getting beat up one way or another. But also, there's a lot of sand. There's a lot of sand too. So that was like bunching up in the front of my foot, bunching up around my toes. So that was annoying. And that stuff adds up over time. Over the course of 100 miles, you kind of, any little thing that you have kind of multiplies, but you deal with it. Anyways, so yeah, getting back to it. So we got to halfway, so mile 53-ish. Put on a jacket. Switched out of my short sleeve and put on a long sleeve. So now I've got shorts, obviously shoes, calf sleeves, toe socks, and Under Armour long sleeve, and a down jacket, which I was like, I'm not going to do pants because I don't think I need them. But I mean, as long as my top half is either, too hot or just right, then I'll be fine, in the shorts. And it was, which was good. So yeah, I had the long sleeve and the down jacket, and then my pack over that. And I really wasn't. I mean, I got cold overnight, but nothing got really numb. Oh, I had gloves on too. Not real thick ones, but thick enough. And my hands never really got numb. Toes never got numb. My face got cold here and there. Really, all that was exposed was like my face and my quads and knees. And those got cold. I think maybe I would have done a little bit better in the cold with some pants, but not very much. And I think that the time it would have taken me to change out of the shorts and put the pants on, I don't think it really would have made that much of a difference. So during the day, it got up to like, I think 72, and at night it got down to about 22 degrees, which I wouldn't have thought. Like at night, I mean, I was cold, but I never really got like that cold. I wouldn't have, like, if you would have told me that it was 22 degrees at night, I probably would have guessed that it got down to like 35. So it was good, which tells me now that, like, even if it's going to be in the 20s at night, I can still do okay with just shorts. Like, as long as my top half is well insulated, I don't really need to go through like the whole process of taking off the shoes, taking off the socks, putting the pants on, changing the socks. And I mean, that's a process, especially when you're moving like a turtle halfway through these races, But yeah, so got a little cold at night. So we're going back out anyways. Long story short, coming out of 53, and I didn't feel great. I really didn't. I didn't feel like I could run well at all. I ate some ramen noodles, kind of refilled all my little soft flasks and everything. Yeah, I ate a lot. I think I ate ramen noodles and then a bunch of peanut butter pretzels, maybe some other stuff. I don't know. Stocked up on goo. Yeah, and then we took back off. And it was right around then that we got passed. And I mean, this put us back in second and third, but we got passed by some guy, Johnny or something. I didn't remember him from the list of people that registered, but I mean, he seemed pretty legit. He physically like looked like he was doing really well. He had a good plan because he passed us late. And that's what you want to do. I mean, if you pass somebody right before it gets dark out, it's not going to be easy to pass them again. And he just looked good. I mean, he had a good looking stride. He had headphones in. He was just kind of like in the zone. But he passed us, and we didn't really think twice about it. We were just kind of going to see how the night played out. But he was running great. I mean, he must have passed a lot of people because he wasn't even on our radar. As far as like people that were going to pass us, I expected it to be either the French guy or that couple. But yeah, no, Johnny Quads ran past us, and we never really saw him again until quite a few miles later. He was turning around after the 80-mile aid station. That's my dog back there, if you're wondering what that is. There she is. She's back there snoozing. Anyways, yeah, so Johnny Quadzilla, he passed us, and it would figure he would pretty much maintain that because he was looking really good. And we were kind of I was kind of feeling like, all right, pretty soon I'm going to have to walk a lot. Just the cold and I don't know if you want to call it a pain cave or whatever people call it. We're just not feeling great at that point. There was a lot of walking. There was a lot of complaining. But yeah, there was we put in a good chunk of running. There was right around, I think it was, it had to be like probably miles 65 to 70-ish. We did a good amount of running. And that was when we were both kind of feeling a little bit better, and we were looking for the cairns in the dark. And yeah, we ran like 3 or 4 solid miles in there. But for the most part, it was like walking and running and just kind of just putting one in front of the other. Not really trying to close any distance on first, but at the same time also like trying not to let fourth place catch us. So that was kind of the mindset. We were like, well, we could just kind of plod along here. Everything will be fine for a while. So that's what we were doing. I wasn't feeling particularly good. Pete, I don't know, he might have been feeling better. Probably was feeling better than me. Definitely looked and sounded better than me. But anyways, we kind of plug along. I think we had coffee at one of the aid stations. Yeah, it just got to that point where we were just kind of not feeling too hot. Mindset was not great, but just kept plugging along really. And then I think it was right around that third aid station. It was so we did the turnaround, and then we got to the aid station. That was mile 65-ish, I think. No, it would have been 53 to 62. Yeah, so around mile 62. Still couldn't see fourth place behind us. But then at the next one, so mile marker 70, we'll call it 70-ish or 71. We'll call it 71. That's when a French guy caught us, which was not super surprising. But yeah, man, he caught us late in the race. Mile 71, he caught us. And I mean, at that point, it's like, I mean, it's pitch dark out, and everybody's just kind of miserable. So if he's even feeling a little bit good at mile 71, he's passing us. I mean, it's just kind of like, hey, nice job. See you later, maybe. Probably not, but anyways, yeah, French dude passed us around 71. And then we walked most of the way to that mile 80 mile marker. So the turnaround for the final inbound trip. I remember we got there, and I was feeling pretty miserable. There was a fire there, which was nice, but like I knew in my head, I was like, okay, I'm gonna warm up by this fire for a little bit and immediately go back into the cold. So like, why am I even bothering? Pete seemed to still be feeling a lot better than me. Still though, a lot of walking. Pete switched to pants. Also, he sat down. I was surprised he sat down because usually, like, I don't want to sit down during these because it's just hard to get back up. But also, like, I was taking way longer in the aid stations. I take forever in the aid stations when I'm just dogging it. But anyways, um, so yeah, we cut out of there. I left my handheld water bottle behind, which was like idiot move, but whatever. It was cold out. I wasn't that thirsty. But I would have liked it when the sun came up. I would have liked it late in the race. Um, but anyways, at the time, I thought I had another soft flask in my bag, which I didn't. But in my bag, I had, and I found this out at that turnaround. I had a little clip-on headlamp, and it's like a small, I think Nathan brand. It's about that big, and it clips on. So for the most part of the walk at night, I've got my headlamp on up here, and I felt like I was gonna break it if I flipped it down anymore. So a lot of the night, I was walking with my head kind of pointing at the ground, which didn't feel good. It probably slowed me down quite a bit. Um, and I'm just looking at the ground right in front of me with my neck kind of stuck like that. Um, but we got to that aid station, and I swapped headlamps for one that would lean forward more, so I was able to aim it at the ground better. And then also in my pack, I had the clip-on one that clipped onto the strap that goes across on my pack. So then I had one pointing at the ground and one headlamp that just kind of was aimed ahead of me, and it was great because then I didn't have to be walking with my head like this. I was able to kind of stay a little bit more upright. Um, at the time, I wasn't able to look at it like a huge positive, but it really was. I mean, it changed the technique. It changed my form up quite a bit, and it definitely made things easier on my neck and my shoulders and my back. Um, so that's key. I mean, that's really, if nothing else, that's probably like top three things that I got to remember for next time is don't forget you got that clip on light and just put it right there and just walk with that thing all night. Definitely would have made things easier. Um, how much time would it have saved us? Geez, probably at least an hour, maybe an hour and a half. Um, yeah, that would have been a huge game changer. But you're you're 70 miles into these things, and your brain isn't. You do stupid things for no reason. So that's where we kind of switched up the headlamp chest lamp situation, and then we set back off. It was a lot more walking. It was cold, and like I said earlier, like I didn't really get that cold, but there were times when we just I felt like the wind more, and that was probably what helped a lot. There was not a whole lot of wind, but when there was wind, it was definitely a cold one, and I would switch from like when it got really cold, I would just put my hood up and zip it up to just that, and it was fine. I mean, my legs didn't really ever get that cold. Um, my ears didn't because I had them. I had the running buff thing around my ears, around my forehead, which also kind of helps with the headlamp kind of pressing on your head, so that helps too. Um, but yeah, I had that going on, so it was a little more comfortable then. But yeah, I mean, when it would get like, because you would drop down into like a little mini valley type thing, and it would just drop like 10 degrees. You could feel it. But my legs never really got cold, and that was the main thing. So we're walking along, miserable at night. um, I noticed that, and Pete noticed too, because obviously, I had to tell him. There was a time when I started to pee like every 15 minutes, and like I would drink something and I would pee almost immediately. So I was like, something weird going on with my kidneys. Like, what is this? I mean, and at the end of the night, I was like, well, it's better to have that than to be drinking a whole lot of water and not peeing. Um, so yeah, I mean, that was kind of a weird one. It was like every mile I had to go though. So that was annoying, and it definitely added time to our. You hate to add stoppage time like that, but what am I gonna piss myself? So yeah, that was kind of how the night went. A lot of walking, a lot of peeing. About halfway through, figured out the headlamp chest lamp situation, which was great. Um, Still almost the entire night, I couldn't help but feel like Pete was feeling a lot better than me because he was up ahead. I didn't know how much better than me he was feeling. I mean, he could have been feeling good, But I did feel like I was holding him back for the majority of the night, just because I was like just doing the death march and just miserable back there by myself. A couple times he was like way ahead of me, and then he would stop and let me catch up, which I appreciate. But like at the same time, like I felt guilty, because you feel like maybe they should leave you. Maybe they would be a little bit better off, and I knew it was going to be hot during those kind of early afternoon hours that we'd be finishing up the race, and I didn't want Pete to have to deal with the heat as much. So I was like, well, shit, I'm holding him back right now. And the slower we go right now, the more heat he's going to have to deal with later. So I don't know. I felt that guilt. Um, but it is what it is. I mean, I couldn't complain too much because we're still in second, or no, we're still in third and fourth. Feeling all right. Came through the aid station. Not the first one on the way back, but it would have been the first one. So the first one on the way back. So we had done 9 miles. We had 18 to go. And it's just starting to get light out. And we see another dude, and he's coming up and he's passing us. And he had a black Under Armour long sleeve, black Under Armour pants, black Under Armour hat, no headlamp on, which he must have just taken it off because you can't go through the whole night without a headlamp. But sorry, I thought I had some lag there. But yeah, he passed us, and he really looked like he was like in some kind of military training thing. I mean, he was just black bodysuit, like coming up behind us. And he got to the aid station. They were like, "How are you doing?" He was like, "Good." This is like really not saying anything, which is fine. You don't have to be super chummy at the aid station. It's fine. But we didn't even think to like look at his number. And it turns out he was in the relay. Like he wasn't even in the 100. He was in the relay. So even though he passed us, like we were still in third and fourth, which is cool. But we didn't realize it at the time. We thought we were in fourth and fifth. We got to that aid station where he passed us, and one of the volunteers at the aid station, guy's named Sean, he had just pulled back up in his car, and he said, "Oh, please tell me you don't want to go and drop out of the race," because I guess he had just finished dropping off 4 people back at the start, and all of them just quit at roughly mile 70 or 71. But four people DNF'd and decided they weren't going to go on anymore. They got to that aid station. I don't know if they got lost or what, but that's one thing we did really well. We never got lost, that's a big deal to me because I always be getting lost at these things. I always get lost. But yeah, I mean, part of it is having Pete there. We had 2 sets of eyes to look for flags and cairns and posts and things like that. But yeah, we never got lost. And we did see one guy who was obviously lost because we saw him going the same way. I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but there was a guy that we saw that we passed on the way out, and he was definitely lost. We didn't help him. We probably should have, but whatever. He didn't ask for help, so that's on him. Anyways, so yeah, we knew that 4 people had dropped at that aid station, and so we asked like how many people are still in the race, and I think they said 10 at that point. I think there were like 10 people that were still in the race, so we didn't feel too bad about what we thought was being in 4th and 5th, but was really 3rd and 4th. So yeah, that was okay. I mean, I felt good about it. I still felt like we were just dogging it, just moving super slow, but we didn't really get passed by anybody except for French guy on the way out. So yeah, then we're going back, and we get to we get to a point where we're just moving so slow. I mean, just so ungodly slow. And I could tell that I was starting to get under Pete's skin a little bit because the sun was now out. He was feeling a little bit better, and I could tell he was feeling better because he was more chatty and a little bit more chipper than I was. But I was really having some pain, I think. So what happened and I don't want to use this as an excuse, but what I had going on was I was wearing toe socks because people wear toe socks to these things. It's supposed to like prevent blisters or something. And it might have to an extent because I didn't really get a whole lot in the line of blisters. Um, but what happened was with the sand, it was like packed in the little toe compartments, and like all of my toes were just like locked. They were stuck kind of up like this, and just like locked kind of in place. And if I moved them at all, it was just like sandpaper. Um, so what it felt like was going on was it felt like these two outside toes were kind of twisting and then just getting sanded between them, on top of them, underneath them, and it felt like even like especially my pinky toe, it felt like it was just ripping, like right, like twisting and just kind of tearing in like the webs of my toe. Yeah, it was really unpleasant. Um, and I was like, well, if I could just get to this aid station, and I was like, part of me was like, oh God, I can't take my sock off because if I do, it's going to be a total bloodbath and everything will hurt worse if I put on a new sock. And then there was another part of me that was like, if I don't do something about this, like I'm going to have to walk the entire rest of the race, which is going to suck. So I was in a dilemma, and I couldn't really run. Pete was trying to run like a minute to 2 minutes on and then walk a little bit, just walk the uphills. And I was trying to do that, and it just really wasn't going well. I don't know. I hate to be a baby about it, but the pain was pretty brutal on my pinky toe. It was like, which, at the end of the day, like it's my pinky toe. It's like whatever. But yeah, I was expecting a lot more gore than I saw. And so, anyways, I told Pete to just leave me. I was like, man, you got to just get out of here. We had like 2.5-ish miles to the aid station. And I was like, I knew Pete was feeling way better than me. And I was like, Pete, you got to get the heck out of here, man. And I know that he felt guilty about it because after running 92 miles or 90-ish miles, it sucks to have to leave somebody, just leave them in the dust like that. But I was like, I mean, you can finish if I have to walk this entire rest of the thing, like you shouldn't have to. I mean, that was the mindset. So, anyways, I told him to just go, which was good that I did because right after that he threw down a couple like 11 and 12-minute miles, which might have been a little too fast. Maybe stick to 12s, 13s, 14s and just maintain. But I get it. I mean, he was chopping at the bit to get rolling, and I'm glad he did go a little bit faster because he had to deal with less intense heat. But anyway, so I get to the aid station, and I get there, and they're like, "How you doing?" And I was like, "Good," but I think my right foot's pretty shredded. And they were like, "Oh, well, let's look at it." And they made me take my shoes and socks off, and I mean, that's one thing that I always go back to with this race is like they have the best volunteers, the best people at the aid station. I mean, you get to the aid station, and whether you're feeling good or whether you're feeling bad, they just know what to do. And it's great, and it's sometimes rare to have that at these events because it's volunteers. You don't know what to expect. Anyways, so I get to this aid station and took off both socks, shook them out. Tons of dirt, tons of sand, wet sand came out of them. But my feet looked okay. Like I was expecting a total bloodbath, especially on the right one. No blood, not much in the line of blisters. Really, really sore bottoms of my feet just because of the terrain and all the loose rocks and the different kind of pitches of the trail. I don't know if that's the right word to say, pitches. I guess it would be right. But yeah, after I saw that my feet weren't a total bloody mess, there was a guy at the aid station, and he brought over like a little tub and put a bunch of water in it and just dunked in my feet and was like washing my feet off. And I was like, whoa, this is pretty intense. I'm 92 miles into this race. I'm getting a foot bath. It was ice cold water, which was extremely painful. But I got used to it, and I knew it was for the best. And I mean, another lady offered me a different pair of socks to put on. And I was like, well, no, I think I mean, it's not a bloodbath. I just had to shake these ones out, get all the sand out of them. So shook them out real good. I think I ate. I don't know if I had some hash browns there. I stayed there for maybe 15 minutes, maybe more. Honestly, it was probably more like a half hour. But they said that Pete had gotten out of there about 15 minutes ago, so I knew that he was trucking pretty well. And I was like, well, with 9 miles left, I mean, I'm not gonna make up 15 minutes on them. Really, what I need to do now is just hold off. What would have been fifth place? Um, it was some lady, some girl. I think she was local to the area, but we passed her and she was going with the sticks. But I saw her come into that aid station, and then I left. I think quite a bit before she did. Um, anyways, it wasn't until there that I found out that the black Under Armour dude, that he was in the relay. So that was cool. I was like, oh, sweet. I'm not in fifth. I'm in fourth place. That's not too bad. Again, they told me that there was going to be about 10 finishers. So I was like, cool. Fourth out of 10. As long as nobody passes me, probably be all right. I also knew that there was a pretty tough climb coming up. But also at the same time, I was like, 9 miles left. Like, let's just get through this. So I put everything back on. I put my winter jacket in Pete's drop bag so that I wouldn't have to carry that anymore. But still, I mean, that left me with shorts and a long sleeve, and it was getting hot. So I had to have this Under Armour fleece long sleeve that I'm wearing, and it's just getting hot out, which is not ideal, but I was like, whatever. 9 miles left. I mean, I could pretty much deal with whatever. So I walked a lot. I pretty much walked probably 2 miles out from that aid station. Then started running a little bit. You kind of walk, jog on the downhills. And then I got to that climb, and I was like, all right, I just got to get through this climb and not stop. So I did that. I didn't stop the whole time. I had to use my hands and knees at times to get up this rocky little incline. It was steep. I mean, there was times when anybody would have used their hands for it, definitely, especially 95, 96 miles into the run. But at this point, I didn't have my GPS watch. I mean, that failed around mile 53 because I had one, and then I had switched to the other one. And then the one that I thought was charging the whole time I was running charged like 10%, and then it must have got shaken off the charger or something. But I'll have to come up with a better plan for that. Maybe I'll like rubber band it onto it or something. Because I got halfway and I was like, oh, great. Both of my watches are at like 20%. It sucks. So that was annoying. But anyways, so I leave that aid station. I get up this climb. I took my shirt off for the climb because it was just like, I'm not climbing up this thing in a fleece long sleeve. That's nuts. So I climbed up it, and then I tried to rip the sleeves off my shirt, but that wasn't going to happen because it was pretty thick. It's not like a fleece thing. It's double, triple stitched or whatever. This is Under Armour cold gear, and I'm wearing it in 70-degree desert heat. But whatever. Anyways, I did take my watch back out though just to look at the time of day, and I knew that I had left that aid station at 10 a.m. So I was like, okay, as long as I run a little bit, I'll make it in under 3 hours. And so that's pretty much what I did. I got out that ridiculous climb. I walked for probably a mile after that, and then doing a lot of walk running. Also, I hallucinated a little bit during that little stretch after the climb. So I was looking, and it was weird because I think Pete saw a similar thing, and it was right around the same place. It might have been the same rock. I don't know. Anyways, so there's a rock formation type thing off to the side, and it's like light colored sandstone. And I'm looking forward like diagonal at it on the trail, and it looked to me like a sand hut house from Tatooine. I mean, it looked like it was like a Tatooine little house from Star Wars. So then I'm looking at it up here, and there's like some bushes along the trail. So I'm looking like at it kind of through the bushes, and then I kind of get up closer to it until it's right next to me, and then I look over, and it's just a rock. Which I was like, okay, well, that was cool. But anyways, I don't know. Then I keep going. and I'm looking, and I'm over 2 hours. Right, I look at my clock now, or I look at my watch now, and it says noon. Um, and anyways, I know I'm getting closer to the start because just remember kind of what it looks like, and you get to that point where you're just kind of like looking over to see like if you can see the finish line, or you can see like any cars or the parking lot or the road or something. And I did see the road, but it was so far out there. I mean, it looked like ridiculously far out, like 10 miles out. But I mean, I don't know. Your eyes play tricks on you when it's that late or that early, I guess. Um, so, anyways, yeah, I'm out there, and I know I got like less than an hour left. And now I'm just kind of playing this game where I'm looking behind me and seeing if they're going to catch me, right? Because it's a lot of walking, a lot of running. Um, I'm trying to ration my water because I only had the 2 soft flasks. So I'm trying to ration the water really well, which I did. You know, I ran out of water with about 3/4 of a mile left. But I was really taking in just the tiniest amounts at a time. So, um, yeah, I was struggling a little bit late. But when you're struggling and it's that late, you just kind of, at the end of the day, you can always just walk and finish it up, dehydrated or whatever, pissed off. But yeah, so I'm getting closer and closer to the finish, and I'm closing in on it. I'm looking at my watch. I'm like, well, you know, maybe I'll finish this last stretch in under 3 hours. Um, and I see a lady walking towards me, and I'm like, oh, I know that lady. She's from like the aid stations, and she's like, all right, you're doing great. And like, part of me is like, do you have any water? But I didn't ask her. You know, I was just like, well, she's got to be coming up to me because I'm close to the end of the race. And I was like, how much farther? That's what I asked her. I was like, how much farther do I have to go? And she was like, oh, like 15, 20 minutes. And I was like, you don't know my pace. It could be another 30 minutes, 45 minutes. You don't know. And I saw her, when I saw her, I was just kind of like doing a slow run. So I figured like she probably assumed like as long as I keep the slow run going on, then it wouldn't be too much longer. And you know, I'm shooting for under 32 hours, and I'm like in my head battling with the thought of 15, 20 minutes versus 30, 40 minutes. You know, it's a ridiculous thought. Anyways, um, I get to the point where I could see the finish, and I figured she probably meant like you got about a mile left. So I was like, okay, a little over a mile left. We're gonna be okay. We're gonna finish this thing. And I'm still just looking over my shoulder, and I keep thinking I'm hearing fourth, fifth place keep coming up on me. Like I feel like I could keep hearing her come up with her poles. I'm like, no, I can't let her catch me this late in the race, you know. But anyways, get to the point where I could see the finish line. Still walking, a lot of walking. I figured I would try to run it in, and I did. I ran it in, but even like maybe 200, 300 yards from the finish, like I still felt like fifth place was right behind me, and I kept like trying to look, and I was like, look, I could see the trail for another half mile. There's nobody coming up on me. There's nobody coming. But you just have that thought in the back of your head that maybe someone's going to catch you. You're going so slow, somebody should be catching you, but nobody did. So that was cool. I ran like the last block or whatever. Finished up the race. Eric, race director guy, comes up, gives you a big hug, asks you if you need any food, water, stuff like that. Gives you the medal, belt buckle on the medal. You guys want to see that? I got the belt buckle on right now. I've been wearing it ever since. There it is. The belt buckle. Belt buckle says 2020 on it because I would assume because last year so few people finished that like they just had all the belt buckles left over. Last year I think 4 or 5 people finished out of 12. But yeah, I'm coming up right to an hour, and I don't really have too much else to say about the race. I'm glad I did this because I wanted to have all my thoughts in one place. I wanted to say them out loud so I could kind of stop having to just relive the whole thing over in my head. I feel like that definitely helps. Next race on the radar, I know for sure it won't be until 2021, or I mean 2022. Thinking maybe late January. I'll go somewhere warm, where not warm, but like warmer, that we can do an ultra. It's not going to be a 100 miler. I'm not going to start the season with a 100 miler. It's crazy. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Long story short, that was my second 100 miler I'd ever run. I finished with a time of 32 hours and about 5 minutes. Pretty disappointed with that. Um, my first 100 ever was Leadville 100, and that was exactly 100 miles versus this one being 106. And at Leadville, I went 24 hours and 43 minutes. I think the two races are pretty comparable as far as elevation change. Um, Leadville has higher elevation changes, more elevation change, but this one has more frequent elevation change. At Leadville, you kind of get it all at once. At Leadville, you're just like up and over the mountain, and then you turn around and go back up and over the mountain, and then it's flat for a while, and then you go up power line, or you go up near outward bound, and you're climbing for like a few miles, and then it flattens out, and then you're declining for like a mile. But at this one, it was just like a couple hundred meters going up, a couple hundred meters going down, a couple hundred meters going level, and then we're going up, and then we're going over this thing, and then we're got some switchbacks going on, and then we're gonna climb down this thing, and it was a lot more frequent elevation changes going on, a lot more frequent climbs, and a lot more frequent just guesswork as far as the trail goes. Like, the terrain was rough. I think last year, because I don't remember the terrain being that rough in 2020, and I think it had recently rained before the race last year. So my theory is that it rained and kind of washed out a lot of the loose rock and didn't really have a chance for it to kind of gather again. But I don't know. I mean, maybe I just am a bigger baby about it this year. After coming off Leadville, like I had to assume that, because people talk about Leadville, how like in a sense that it's like some difficult, extremely technical, like annoyingly hard 100-mile race. But I feel like this one was harder. But I didn't think that last year. I don't know. I'll probably think a little bit more on that. But Leadville, like there was less guesswork with the footing for sure. The footing was better. You get all the inclines and declines kind of more in chunks versus it's just the whole time at Deadman Peaks. It's just the whole. I don't want to say the whole race, because there are some times where it's runnable for an extended period of time, but it's not very often. But that's what makes it challenging, and that's why we go out there and choose to put ourselves through the suffering. But I don't know, to each his own. It was a fun time. I had a lot more fun on day one than I did at night and on day two, which I think is pretty normal for these things. I found out the guy that won was that guy John. He got first place. He goes by the Instagram handle something about a Quadzilla. He calls himself Quadzilla. Dude smashes watermelons with his thighs. Also, he just finished hiking the CDT, the Continental Divide Trail. So I have to assume that he's got like just rugged, leathery feet and just these quads that smash watermelons and skulls. He could probably smash skulls in his thighs too. So I was telling Pete, I was like, if I'm going to not win a 100-miler and not really do my best and not, get a PR or whatever, if I'm going to lose to somebody, I'd rather lose to the guy that just finished hiking the 100 or the Continental Divide Trail and like for fun just smashes watermelons in his thighs. So he beat me, and the French guy. I mean, French guy's he's got a ton of wins. And I don't want to like make excuses for not running my 24:40 and taking the dub at Deadman's, but I had the mindset more so like, all right, Leadville is in the books. Let's get in one more 100-miler before the year is up. There was a time during the race when I really wanted to win. You're in first and second, you're feeling good. You're like, yeah, we should win and by hours. And, hopefully it's pretty easy. Hopefully we get the easy win. but it doesn't work like that, you know. Um, but yeah, I mean, the people that did beat me in my head, like all three of them definitely earned it. They all deserve to be there. Um, I made some critical mistakes with planning and just not getting the sand out of my shoes when I should have. So if I could have corrected those things, I think we would have had a much more successful day. I would feel less bad about, holding Pete back. Um, but I think as bad as I feel about holding him back, I think he feels bad about holding me back on day one. Um, which at the same time, like, yeah, I mean, I did hold back on day one, but the thought of walking through or running through the entire night by myself, probably getting lost, doing the slow death march to wherever I needed to go. I mean, it would have been such a more miserable night. I mean, it was miserable. Don't get me wrong, but um, I think when you're alone at night, it makes it um, that much more miserable, and you kind of get in your own head more. You're thinking like, "Am I lost? Am I going the right way?" And you kind of you end up playing mind games with yourself that you wouldn't normally do if you're with somebody. So I think that definitely helped more than it hurt. But I'm glad he did leave when he did, because at that point I really thought I was going to have to walk the entire rest of the race. But I didn't need to, which was good. It wasn't, my feet were not totally, wasn't a total bloodbath in there, like I was expecting. So that was good to see. But yeah, I'm over an hour on this live. I have never made a YouTube video like this before. I doubt many people will see it, and I don't really care because it's just kind of more for me. Um, I hope if somebody watches it that maybe they learn something from it that'll benefit them. But yeah, anyways, I think that's a wrap. Deadman Peaks 2021. Um, got fourth place, 32 hours and 5 minutes. Big congratulations to Pete and to John and to that French guy. I forget his name. I think his name is Alex, but I'm not sure. I don't know if I'll go back to Deadman's next year. I do think I'll go back to the Backyard Ultra. They hold a Backyard Ultra in June or July that I'll probably come back for. And the reason I go back to these race NM events is because they have the best crew, the best staff, as far as people that just have been doing this for a while and they understand what you're going through, and they just get it. I mean, there are races that I see that are professionally sponsored races that are held by Lifetime Fitness, races that are held by such and such company, and they're poorly run. And then, I mean, I go to these race NM events, and they're professional. Their aid stations are well stocked. Their volunteers know what they're doing and have been here before, and they just get it. So that's the reason I keep going back, and that's the reason I want to keep supporting Race New Mexico. It's about a 6 or 7 hour drive for me, so I kind of dabble with like the thought of flying to Albuquerque and then driving. It would take about the same amount of time, right? So I don't know. But yeah, I'll definitely be back in June or July for the Land of Entrapment Backyard Ultra. And then maybe, I don't want to commit right now, but I think I might want to go back and try to win the 53 miler. I think I could run that in, I don't know. I don't want to throw a time out there, but I think I could win that. I think the field maybe this year was not as strong as it is some other years. So maybe I'm looking at this the wrong way, but I think I could get the win maybe next year in the 53 mile, but we'll see. I don't know if I'll pencil in. I haven't really put a lot of effort into my ultra schedule next year. I know I'm going to do the Chicago Marathon next year. I don't know if that'll be my A race, like my premier race, the one that I want to really take the most time and effort into planning and really try to get the best result. But we'll see. I'm definitely doing more hundreds. I got the belt buckle here. So that was the goal. Got another 100 under the belt, and that's going to be the end of my season for this year. So call it a success. Leadville, huge success. Um, I mean, the plan and the execution at Leadville was perfect, almost as close to perfect as I could really ever expect it to be. Got the big buckle, went to Deadman's, didn't really train a lot in between, had ankle issues going on, bought a bike, was riding a bike a lot for the majority of my training. Put in way more miles on the bike than I did running. But yeah, I don't know. We'll look at next year. I want to do at least 200s next year, maybe 3. I think I could do maybe more than 100 miles, but I don't know if that's in the cards quite yet, because I have gotten to the point now, I think, where even if the race is extremely difficult, like at Deadman's, and I just feel miserable, I know that I can still finish. I can still get the buckle. I'm not terribly worried about cutoff times because I'm still ahead of that as far as my speed goes. I've got a lot to learn still. I mean, I've done a few of these now, but there's still definitely a lot to learn about the whole sport. Javelina is in the cards for next year. I'm definitely doing Javelina. That I think we'll shoot for a PR at that one, because that one, it's loops and it's flatter. So that one we'll look at as being like something I could run maybe. I think I just froze for a second there. But yeah, at Javelina, I think we're going to try to PR there. I'm probably going to pace at Leadville. Like I said, Chicago Marathon's in the cards, but I haven't really planned out the earlier part of the season. I'm also in the Western States 100 lottery, which I don't really expect to get picked for because it's my first time getting in the lottery. And I've heard that nobody gets picked on the lottery for Western States, but that's an option. Pete mentioned that he signed up for the Run Rabbit, but he doesn't want to run it. So maybe I'll be Pete Samuelson for a day. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm glad to have all my thoughts in one place. This was a long video. And I've got things to do today. It's almost noon. But I'm glad to have this video out there. If not for people to see and kind of get an idea of what these races look like and kind of the mindset that you go through. If not for that, then at the very least, it's good for me to be able to come back and look at it before my next one. But yeah, I mean, if anybody watches this, I guess thanks for watching. I've got no viewers on the live, and I didn't even want to go live, but it's just going to record it and put it in one place. So that's fine. But yeah, here we are. It's 5 days after, and my legs feel back to, I don't want to say 100% because it's far from that, but my legs feel like I could go out for a jog today. I'm not going to. I'm going to give myself a couple more days. Season's over. And before I start training back from the ground up, I might as well rest for a little bit and get my legs back up to 100%, and then start clipping them off again. Yeah. So that's really all I have to say. There's my dog. She's still sleeping. Here she is. Her name's Bean. She's a German Shepherd Husky mix. She's about 6 years old. She'll be 6 in May. So she's a little sweetheart. I don't know. Maybe I'll do like a video where it's more like about me and about my running and a little more history and stuff like that. But whatever. Yeah, that's going to be it. Have a good day, everybody.